Let's dive right in with a mystery that blurs the line between science and folklore. Imagine walking through town on a sunny afternoon when suddenly a fish drops onto your shoulder. It sounds like a cartoon gag, but in Honduras, this is such a regular event, they even hold an annual festival for it. Locals call it lluvia de peces, literally the rain of fish. For centuries, eyewitnesses have described bizarre storms where creatures tumble out of the clouds. We're not just talking fish, but also frogs, tadpoles, and even the occasional shower of spiders. The strange culprit is a weather phenomenon known as a waterspout, a tornado that spins over water. These funnels act like giant sky vacuums, sucking up unsuspecting animals from rivers, ponds, and wetlands. Lifted high into the air, the creatures are carried for miles inside the swirling column. Then when the storm loses strength, its living cargo comes tumbling down on whatever happens to be underneath. One second you're a fish in a pond, the next you're free-falling into someone's backyard barbecue. Reports show that these animal rains tend to involve just one type of creature at a time. It's as if nature's tornado machine sorts them by size and weight before unloading them. And while it may sound terrifying in Honduras, people actually celebrate it, turning a bizarre meteorological quirk into a cultural tradition. Number 8. The light beams from heaven. Picture this: you're walking home late at night when you glance up and see giant glowing beams shooting straight into the sky. At first glance, it looks like aliens have turned on their tractor beams to snatch your neighbor's cows. But the real explanation is even stranger and completely natural. These vertical light streaks are called light pillars. They happen on extremely cold nights when the air is filled with countless microscopic ice crystals. These aren't chunky snowflakes, but perfectly flat hexagon-shaped shards floating gently like glass confetti. Because of their shape, the crystals tend to drift horizontally, almost like tiny mirrors lying flat in the air. When light from street lamps or buildings shines upward, the crystals reflect and align the beams, stretching them high above the ground. The effect is breathtaking, giant luminous columns that look like gateways to another world. For centuries, people believed these were signs from gods or signals from other realms. During World War II, entire towns even mistook them for enemy searchlights and went into blackout panic. In reality, it's just frozen geometry at work, millions of tiny ice fragments collaborating to put on one of nature's most dramatic light shows. Number 7. The giant hole punched in the clouds. Imagine looking up and seeing a perfect round hole carved out of the clouds, as if the sky itself had been bitten by a cosmic cookie cutter. For decades, people swore these were UFO landing zones. The truth, however, comes from airplanes, not aliens. These formations are called Fallstreak holes, and they appear when planes fly through special types of cloud layers. Inside those clouds, countless water droplets are floating in liquid form, even though the temperature is well below freezing. Scientists call this supercooled water, and it's basically water ignoring the rules of physics. When an airplane slices through its wings, create a sudden drop in air pressure and temperature. That tiny shock is enough to flip the switch. Those droplets instantly crystallize into ice. Once a few droplets freeze, they trigger a chain reaction, convincing their neighbors to do the same. The ice crystals grow heavy, falling out of the cloud layer like shimmering streaks of snow. What's left above is a circular gap that can span miles across a literal hole in the sky. Depending on how the plane cuts through the cloud, the shape can be a neat circle or an elongated canal stretching across the horizon. What once looked like a portal for flying saucers is in reality an atmospheric domino effect started by a passing jet. Number 6. The desert that sings its own doom. Picture yourself wandering through a desert at sunset when the silence is broken by a low, vibrating hum rising from the dunes. It sounds like a giant beast groaning beneath the sand, warning trespassers to turn back. These eerie sounds come from the singing dunes, a natural orchestra powered by grains of sand. Even Marco Polo wrote about them, convinced that evil spirits were hiding in the desert. The reality is less supernatural, but just as strange. When sand slides down the slope of a dune, each grain collides with its neighbors, producing tiny vibrations. Multiply that by millions of grains moving at once, and the result is a booming note that can echo for miles. Not every dune can sing, though. The sand grains need to be almost perfectly round and identical in size. They also must be extremely clean, no dust, no moisture conditions as demanding as a diva preparing for a stage performance. Each dune has its own unique voice. Some produce a single deep note like a giant drum, while others rumble with harmonies like a natural choir. The volume can reach 105 decibels, about the same as a chainsaw roaring in your ear. For ancient travelers, stumbling into a singing desert must have felt like stepping onto cursed ground. No wonder legends grew that these landscapes were haunted, their voices carrying on the wind long after nightfall. Number 5. The day it rained blood. Imagine waking up to see red droplets splattering your windows and cars, turning your neighborhood into a scene from a horror movie. For thousands of years, people panicked whenever this happened, convinced it was an omen of doom. Ancient Greeks believed the gods were bleeding. Medieval villagers thought the apocalypse had arrived. But in reality, blood rain is just dust or sometimes spores getting creative with the weather. Strong winds from the Sahara can carry microscopic particles of rust-colored dust high into the sky. These iron-rich grains travel for hundreds or even thousands of miles before mixing with rain clouds. When it rains, the water turns crimson as the particles fall back down to Earth. In other cases, tiny red algae spores hitch a ride into the atmosphere and create the same eerie effect. The results can be shocking: clothes stained scarlet milk and butter, turning red in storage, even streams running like liquid rust. Imagine being a farmer in medieval England, milking your cow, only to find what looks like strawberry milk pouring into the bucket. No wonder people thought their livestock was cursed. Today, we know it's just atmospheric dust and biology mixing with water. But the sight of blood-colored rain still sends chills down spines. Number 4. The forest that flashes in unison. Imagine walking into a forest at night when suddenly thousands of tiny lights begin blinking all at once. At first, it feels like stepping into a fairy tale or a secret concert lit by starlight. What you're actually seeing is a natural phenomenon created by fireflies. Instead of random flashes, these insects coordinate with mathematical precision. Scientists call it synchronous flashing, and it's one of nature's strangest mating rituals. It all starts with one male, the pacemaker bug, who kicks off the rhythm. The others quickly join in, matching his timing until the entire forest pulses with light. To a female firefly, 1,000 synchronized flashes are far more impressive than one lonely bug blinking in the dark. It's the insect version of a boy band concert versus a single guy with a guitar. The coordination is so flawless that special high-speed cameras were needed just to prove humans weren't imagining it. In Southeast Asia, the shows often happen on riverside trees glowing like Christmas lights. In North America, the fireflies do it mid-flight, synchronizing while zipping around like acrobats. Either way, the result is a rave in the forest powered by insects with brains smaller than a grain of rice. Number 3. The eerie glow before an earthquake. Imagine standing outside at night when the sky suddenly lights up with strange glowing patches. Sheets of light ripple across the horizon and floating orbs appear above rooftops. For centuries, witnesses described these bizarre lights before earthquakes, but most people dismissed them as superstition. Records from Japan in the year 869 even mention mysterious skyfire before a massive quake struck. Today, scientists know these lights are real, and they're caused by stressed rocks deep underground. Certain minerals, especially quartz-rich ones, behave like enormous electrical batteries under pressure. As tectonic plates grind together, the rocks squeeze and release bursts of electrical charge. That charge travels upward, electrifying the air near the surface. When the air becomes ionized, it glows like plasma, turning invisible forces into visible light. What's unnerving is that these lights don't always appear right at the quake's epicenter. Sometimes they show up hundreds of kilometers away in places where the ground seems stable. To ancient people, it looked like the gods warning them. To us, it's Earth itself flashing a brief signal before tearing open. Number 2. The ocean that glows electric blue. Imagine standing on a beach at night when every crashing wave suddenly glows bright electric blue. The shoreline looks like it's been drenched in liquid lightning. This dazzling effect is caused by microscopic organisms called dinoflagellates. These tiny creatures light up whenever they're disturbed, whether by waves, fish, or your footsteps in the wet sand. It's not just for show, it's their defense system. When threatened, they flash like a burglar alarm, making predators visible to larger hunters. To humans, it looks like the ocean is throwing a midnight rave. Entire coastlines can glow so brightly that people have used the light to read books by the water. Dolphins swimming through these blooms leave glowing trails like underwater comets streaking through the sea. Ancient sailors thought it was magic or sea spirits, while some cultures believed it was the ocean's soul revealing itself. In truth, it's billions of tiny organisms having simultaneous panic attacks and somehow turning fear into beauty. Number 1. The army of ice spikes. Imagine trekking through the Andes and stumbling upon a frozen battlefield. Thousands of sharp ice blades stand in formation, all pointing toward the sky like soldiers awaiting orders. These aren't icicles, they're called penitentes. Some grow taller than a person, creating eerie fields of jagged crystal. Early explorers, including Charles Darwin, thought fierce winds carved them. But the real sculptor is the sun itself, working with physics that feels like sorcery. At high altitudes, snow doesn't melt into water, it sublimates, jumping straight from solid to gas. Once a small hollow forms, sunlight bounces inside like a laser in a mirror maze. The trapped light digs the hollow deeper and sharper, creating spires that rise beside it. Over centuries, entire slopes become seas of frozen spears. Each spike looks like a monk bowing in prayer, which is why locals named them Penitentes. At night, wandering into one of these icy fields feels like walking through a ghostly congregation. Even stranger scientists believe similar formations may exist on Pluto or the icy moons of Jupiter. Earth's frozen armies may not be marching alone in the universe. And that's the end of our countdown of bizarre natural wonders that prove Earth is stranger than fiction. From fish raining out of the sky to deserts that sing like giant instruments, these mysteries show how weird and wonderful our planet can be. Which one of these phenomena blew your mind the most? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your pick. And don't forget to hit subscribe because there are plenty more strange stories about our world coming soon.